Thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. Conversational texting and messaging, when done correctly, is an amazingly powerful tool. But if you've even tried it, are you using it correctly? Aaron Christopher, or better known as AC Evans, is the CEO and founder of Drips.com, and he's a subject matter expert in lead generation and marketing automation. And on this episode, we'll discuss how SMS and texting have changed conversations with customers, how developing a work-life balance can dramatically improve your life and career, even for entrepreneurs, and how proactively marketing your product or service is an obvious necessity. So let's tune in to an SMS entrepreneur with a short message shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. AC, thank you so much for joining us on A Shark's Perspective. If you would tell us a little bit about your background and your career thus far.
Sure. Background is serial entrepreneur since I was about 19 years old. I'm now 36, so it's coming up on almost 20 years. I have started a lot of different projects, a few different businesses. Mostly in the world of lead generation, marketing automation. That's kind of where I started. When I was younger, before I was, really doing this professionally, I would be what you call a spammer these days. I was, 16 years old, trying to send stuff around on AOL to get people to buy it. Learned a little bit about automation then, quickly shifted into, more legitimized lead generation, lead brokering, mailing, publisher stuff, affiliate stuff, and then started building my own software when I was about 19, 20 years old. I came up with a handful of different projects between then and now, and most recently my company, Drips.com, is my focus.
Well, congratulations, by the way, for the cover of Aficionado magazine. Your elder doppelganger must be really jealous. I love Jen Tango and Cash, but it was a pretty good shot of Kurt Russell if anybody wants to visualize a little bit of what AC looks like. So let's talk then a little bit about SMS and text messaging. If you would kind of set us up with where the state of SMS and text messaging is. I mean, the technology's been around for quite a while, but are marketers really using it well to drive those automations and those automated campaigns to keep people dripped, if you will, through the lead gen funnel?
Yeah, I think most companies aren't using it yet. A lot of companies used it some years ago, right. Mostly in the publisher affiliate realm, and that got a lot of companies in trouble, right? So there was a lot of people just, candidly spamming, right, random phone numbers, pushing people to different affiliate links, and that got a lot of the big service providers into some heat. So that's like a lot of the like the Dish Network type companies, AT&T, et cetera. They had some different TCPA issues. So that has gotten a lot of the bigger companies a little wary of SMS. When they hear SMS, they think, oh, that's the stuff that, got these other companies in trouble. We're not going to do that. We don't want to do that. But, it's coming around now. People realizing that there are ways to use it appropriately. Through opt-in data, making sure that your users, did give you consent to send them messages, and then you can use it administratively. So somebody comes into a website, the way that we handle it, and the differentiator, I think, is we just try to hold a conversation and figure out when the best time it is for the user to get on a call. That is a very tasteful way to use SMS versus just sending them links and blasting them, at all hours of the day and night. So that's pretty much where it's at. So people are using it, single direct agents obviously are using it. You think of like the realtor or the direct insurance agent, but big companies, it's hard to do at scale. If you got thousands of leads a day, it's a hard thing to manage and facilitate at scale.
Are you seeing anything that delivers, a more powerful connection than text messaging? I mean, you're darn near instantaneous with text for the most part. I mean, emails can take a while, obviously. Any other kind of advertising takes a significant amount of time, but you've got to see some pretty awesome metrics that show how powerful SMS is.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's nothing right now that is as directly impactful as SMS. The only thing that I would say is close is like Facebook Messenger, and it's
Sure.
only close because it's damn near the same thing, right? You got an app on your phone, direct push every time you get a message, you're getting an alert, it's popping up in your home screen. So they're almost they're almost cousins, right? The thing I like about SMS is you obviously don't have to be a Facebook user to use it. It's more personal, it's more direct, but no, there is nothing else. I
You
mean,
don't have to install another app.
yeah, you don't have to install another app. So the other channels, what do you got? You got phone calls, which nobody's answering phone calls anymore, right? Like if you don't know the number, you can leave a voicemail that's not going to get checked. You can, nobody's combing through their direct mail these days when they get to their mailbox carefully. Email is getting sorted and marked as spam accordingly and promotions accordingly. So yeah, I think SMS is kind of like email was like in 2000, 2001, where it's really impactful. It's really working, and the people that are doing it right are getting really good results.
So early on, what made you want to focus on SMX? I mean, was it, obviously you were starting to build out, as you said, some of those drip campaign softwares, but what was that? What inspired you to look at that, text messaging from a focus?
Our origin story is kind of funny. It wasn't that I sought it out. I was doing a lot of lead generation on Facebook at the time, and one of my clients, this guy Tom. If you go to our website drips.com and watch the video, there's a little cartoon. This guy Tom, he's actually a real person. He was a client of ours buying leads. I think it was credit repair leads off of our Facebook accounts and our lead generation efforts. And he would buy the leads and he would run them through his texting, his CRM. And every day at noon, it would send those users a text message, and it would say, "Hello, thanks for filling out your form. Please call us back at 888-555-1212 to lower your student debt or repair your credit," or whatever it was. And one day that platform of his broke, and he called me and said, "Hey, AC, I can't keep buying these leads because my texting service isn't working anymore." And I asked him, I said, "Well, what did it do?" And he explained to me, it takes the last few days of leads and sends them a message at noon every day, and that in turn turns the leads into inbound phone calls. And I said, "Well, that doesn't sound too difficult." So I stayed up all night. I programmed, what would become Drips, alpha, I guess, and turned it on the next day. And instead of converting 10% of his leads, Tom started converting 15% of his leads. And he asked me, he said, "What was the difference? How did you get a 50% lift?" And I said, "Well, your creative was lacking, right?" So I changed it to, "Hello, Kenneth." I include the first name. I said, "Thanks for filling out your, thanks for finding us on Facebook." So then I, put in some recency, some social proof, so they understood why I was reaching out. "Hello, Kenneth, thanks for filling out the form on Facebook. I'm really excited to help you out with your credit repair. My name's Bob. You can call me back at 330-424-1212. So I put in a local phone number. So really, I made the creative a little more enticing and got him a 50%, 50% lift in conversions. And he was blown away, so he's happy. He keeps buying leads. I'm still selling the leads. I'm making a few bucks on this texting thing now. And then we just kept iterating. So I started changing the times of the day the messages went out. I started adding in some context as to why we're reaching out. It would say good morning or good afternoon, or I'm only here for one more hour, or hey, it's been a few days. Then we added in phone calls. Then we added in two-way chat. So it just kind of really iterated into this larger project and eventually a decent sized little company.
So let's talk a little bit about your experience as a serial entrepreneur. I know I've read a lot of your posts over time, but what inspired you to be an entrepreneur? I know, what was the inspiration that started this within you even before Drips?
Oh, it was probably getting fired from my sixth or seventh or eighth job in a row.
So
I
you're
was
a great
not
employee,
a great
just like
student.
me.
Yeah, you got it. I was a poor student. I was a poor employee. I I mean, I had dream jobs, right? Like I remember I got a job working at the Brown Stadium and the Gund Arena, or what was called the Gund Arena at the time, where the Cavs played, doing the 3D animation and 2D animation for the scoreboards. And that meant I was the one designing the helmets clashing together, the lightning,
Right.
the big defense sign. I mean, it was a really, really cool job for an 18-year-old. Got it right out of high school. I got placed there through a digital design course I'd taken. But anyway, so I got to go to all the games. I got to do all the prep work, all the design work, and I got to be at all the games, which is cool. And I had nothing else to do besides make sure my stuff worked at the game, except for I had to record the game. That was like my one on-site job, is they would give me a look kind of like a VHS tape. And in the beginning of the game, I'd have to put the tape in, hit record, middle of the game, take it out, put another one in, record. And I forgot one day, a few games into the season, I forgot to record the game. And this was a big deal, apparently. The director came to me and, he told me, he's like, hey, you can't forget to record the game. There's literally a hole in the NFL archives now because of you. And I felt horrible, and I was like, oh, no problem. I'll never forget again. Literally 2-3 weeks later, I was like busy doing some design animation while the game was going on. Forgot to put the tape at halftime, and they had to let me go over it. But I realized I was not a good button pusher. I was not a good checklist doer. I've always been a great creator. So when I can, create on my own time, I can have a lot of impact. But when it comes to, pushing a button, keeping to some normalcy of a schedule back then, it was a really hard thing for me. So I just kind of started doing my own thing and found some success in that. And then I think that was probably my last job. I think I was 19 or so.
It's hard to really blame you, though, because, I mean, the Browns have been pretty bad for a long time. So you might have just fallen asleep
it's funny.
watching the game.
I don't follow sports much, but it's funny. I've learned that the Browns are kind of America's team now. Like everybody knows, what's going on with the Browns. Yeah, they're the old Cubs, exactly.
So you started the company in Akron. Why Akron? Why not, pack it up and move to San Jose and get all the VC money you can get, or New York, or, more of the traditional tech startup places?
Oh, man. Well, it's kind of funny as a Midwest guy. I didn't even know what VC or PE or, investment capital was until literally a few years ago. And I'm talking like I was 30 something before I was exposed to it. From the time I was 19, 20 till the time I started building the company here, I moved around a lot. So I moved to Myrtle Beach. I came back. I moved to Vegas. I came back. I moved to California. I came back. And most recently, I moved to Belize for about 2.5, 3 years. And I was just kind of doing my solopreneur thing, just me and a laptop, maybe a couple remote employees or virtual assistants. But really, I would just kind of build some project or some website that would make some money, some lead arbitrage, something like that. And then I would just kind of do my own thing and just float around. Ended up moving back to Ohio for a girl, the old story, right? So came back from Belize with her, and we settled down, got a house, started building the company, had a child. So now I got, real roots here, but Ohio and Akron's always kind of been my home base. So I'd stretch out a little bit and I'd come back home. Then I'd go out somewhere else, try something else, come back home. But yeah, as far as VC goes, I didn't even think of that. That was not even a consideration of mine when building my projects and my companies. I always build things to make money. And I just never really considered taking capital.
Yeah, I've seen several of your posts over time, and I love them. That they're often about work-life balance, and it's rarely about drips and lead gen and SMS and PPC or something like that. I mean, what kind of advice do you give entrepreneurs today regarding balancing that work-life balance that you seem to have found?
I definitely don't feel like I've found it. That's probably why I post about it so much. I've learned that there is no finding it, and I've learned that there is no balance. But what there definitely is what I call counterbalance. And what I mean by that is everyday adjustments. Like even just this morning, I was planning on going to the gym. That's my schedule, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to the gym. I lift weights. Tuesday, Thursday, I stick around at home for a little while extra and hang out with my daughter Atlas and let my wife sleep in. But today, Atlas was up all night. She's teething again. So it kept my wife up. So I made a shift. I, did some ab workouts at home, hanging out with the baby and let the wife sleep in. And that was the adjustment that I've made so far today for that, and there'll be 3 other adjustments I have to make throughout the day. So I've learned that you should have a plan, right? I always say, like, make the plan, execute the plan, throw away the plan, So I had a plan, needed to counterbalance, because if I didn't, my wife probably wouldn't be too happy with me, right? If she only got a few hours of sleep and I got to go to the gym and enjoy my regimen and my schedule the way I want to. So that would be my advice is just have a plan, make it as strategic and as thoughtful as you can, but then don't be afraid to adjust it. And I mean, I make adjustments to my schedule moving forward literally every day. I tweak things and change things, and I won't have calls while I'm in the car because I'm trying to spin down my brain on the way home, and then I'll start making sure I'm scheduling calls from the car because it feels like a wasted 45 minutes if I don't. But I'm always tweaking, and I'm always trying to find balance, but I doubt I'll ever truly find it.
Well, you've been through the ups and downs. I know you've made a payroll, you've marketed your company, hired VPs of this and application developers of that. You've obviously done a lot to help build up that company. What is the most important part of being a CEO that you've learned thus far?
I feel like one of the things I'm getting better at now is realizing that your company culture, like a lot of people, as you start building small companies and medium-sized companies, you start to think of company culture, right, and core values and vision and goals, and it's important, right, to keep everybody on the same page. And I've learned that it's very easy to come up with core values, right? Especially in a founder-led company like mine, I can just kind of think of what are my core values and distill them down. But it's much harder to live them. It's much harder to instill them. And I've learned that really your core values and your company culture is built around who you promote and who you let go of. And I have been historically very poor at letting go of people. I'm kind of an ultra optimist, so I always see the best in everybody, and I always see, if they make these 27 changes in a row perfectly, then they'll be a great employee. I'm the same way with relationships and friends and girlfriends and everything else. I always think it'll work out. So that's something I've learned that is important, that I'm still trying to get better at, is making sure that if I know somebody's, or if I think somebody might not be right for the company, they're probably not right for the company. As I look back when people leave or we help them leave, I can always look back 8 months ago and go, man, I knew it then, So that's been something I definitely realize is important, that I'm trying to get much better at. That's one of my recent struggles. Having hard conversations with people, similar story, is something that recently I'm realizing is very important. Again, kind of an optimistic guy, so having hard conversations with people isn't my favorite. I'm definitely more of a EQ CEO, a more empathy CEO.
Sure.
So that's something I've been trying to get better at. What else? One thing that was a surprise as a CEO and actually running the company and working on the company is I realized that early on as a builder, as a creator, and I've done programming, designing, writing, everything under the sun. And I realized back then there was a much greater feeling of fulfillment. And now, even with what most people consider a very successful company, I don't feel nearly as fulfilled on a day-to-day standpoint. And it's pretty simple, really. Why? It's just I'm dealing mostly with problems now.
Right.
Whether it's HR problems or client problems or legal problems or money problems or whatever. I'm not creating nearly as much, and these problems that I'm working on, they don't go away quickly and easily. So it's not like I get to commit some code and see it live on the website. I don't get to make a design change on the website. I don't get to kind of flyer and boom, it's done. So I don't get that dopamine hit,
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of accomplishment the way I used to. So that's been interesting. I think that's important for people to realize when they get into this is what it was when you're building is not what it is when you're scaling. And the tricks that got you from 0 to 1 are not the tricks that'll get you from 1 to 2. So that's important, I think, to know and to realize, because if you try to hold on to, the 0 to 1 mentality or the 0 to 1 tricks that got you there, you'll definitely fail in the next step. And I felt that, quarter over quarter, where I look back and I go, wow, I wasn't planning up, I was just doing, or
Right.
I was hurrying, I wasn't being quick, and I realized that all of the things that I was great at, I'm a startup guy, right? Like I'm a build guy, I'm a 0 to 1 guy. So all those things that I'm great at, bootstrapping, et cetera, are not the things that get you from 10 to 20 million. They're the things that get you from 0 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is something very different. So yeah, I think something I've definitely learned.
So, you've got a product that obviously helps marketers reach consumers. But when you think about it either from that perspective or from your own companies, what's the most important marketing lesson that you've learned?
The biggest marketing lesson I've learned, and this is, again, sorry to keep talking super recent, but the biggest lesson that I've learned is it is all about perception, right? Like, you think of Salesforce as number 1 CRM, right? Like, who's number 2? Nobody knows, right? There's a million other ones. We are number 1 in this category. We built this category. We built
Right.
this niche. We were the first people to do conversational text, omni-channel with phone, meaning phone calls, voicemails, emails, text message, and especially and specifically in a conversational manner. But I had this creed while we were building of work hard in silence and let success be your noise. It's not my quote. I wish I knew whose it was. I give them credit. But that was always kind of how we operated. And, we would show up at the trade shows and I would do some speaking events and whatnot, but we never really got out there. We never really talked about it. That was a mistake. And I realized that as we're looking to build into our Q1 and next year goals. And if you Google us, the only stuff you'll find is from the last 90 days, a couple blogs, a couple mentions. We were just in Forbes, a couple podcasts. And that's just because we've just been heads down working this whole time. And what that meant was we weren't telling the world about our wins. We weren't putting out case study. We weren't putting out white paper. We weren't establishing ourselves as the dominating force in this market. And the risk of that is if you don't do that, then somebody else
Exactly.
can come do it for you, right? Yeah. So somebody else can come up brand new, or maybe a call center starts doing texting, and they put out a couple case studies, and all of a sudden they look like they were first. So even though we've done almost a couple 100 million conversations, and we're doing over 500,000 new conversations a day, that's not necessarily something the world knows. So that's been a big focus of mine for Q4 is building a real marketing team, getting that case study put together, sharing it with the world, and really kind of putting our flags down as the inventors of this niche.
For you then, at what point will you know you've reached your height of success?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's funny. We
Never.
we have investors. Yeah, it's the goalposts move, right? We've had companies come in, strategics mostly. A lot of actually our clients, and they're interested in investing or acquiring. And my number today is much different than my number was 2 quarters ago.
Sure.
As far as something I'd be interested in, I will feel like we've hit a level of success. I think once we have a more broad product offering. So what we do right now is very consultative selling, because we have to go in to a company, say it's ADT, right? We have to go in and we have to tell them that there is a better way to do this thing. And we have to, sell them on this new way of doing it. Oh, use texting to get people on the phone. Don't use a phone to get people on the phone. What? It makes no sense to them, even though they don't answer phones themselves as human beings. So I feel like I will have reached a solid level of success once that sell gets a lot easier and once they understand and see what we do as being more normal. But right now it's a very disruptive sell. There are multiple, departments that our product touches. We are disrupting the person that runs the call center. We're disrupting the general counsel, the customer journey person, the marketing person, the salesperson, the CRM person. So it's a tough sell. Doesn't mean we don't get it done. We do, but I feel like once we ever have it a lot more proved out and can just kind of sell in a little easier and be more snap-inable. I don't think that's a word, but more easy to integrate. Like probably have a lot more pipes built to the normal call center softwares, the normal CRM software, so that it's more of a one-click install. That I think will be a good measure of kind of our next level of success. Looking forward to the future past that, I'd love to have a product that is for direct to agent, meaning right now we are definitely enterprise SaaS. So we're selling to companies like T-Mobile and Liberty Mutual. We are not selling to, Bob, the insurance agent, but Bob has the exact same problem that T-Mobile does. T-Mobile just has it at a grander scale, but Bob, just like T-Mobile, has leads that aren't answering their phone anymore. So that I think will be a really cool level of success to hit, is when we can kind of package drips in a different way so that it's $250 a month automated outbound for the insurance agent, the lawyer, the dentist, the car salesman, because they have the exact same issue, and they have it even worse because they don't really have as many marketing tools at their disposal as a company like T-Mobile does. So that's those are kind of my two big things on the horizon. Get the sales cycle cut way down for enterprise by way of better case study, better integrations, and then eventually a direct to agent packaging of drips so that we can service thousands and thousands of companies instead of hundreds.
When you look at all the startups out there, so many people are reaching and grasping for funding. How do you look at it for your company?
Yeah, great question. As I said before, we definitely have been bootstrapped to date. We took a small debt round recently that we haven't touched, which was nice, and it was kind of padding, and it allowed us to feel very comfortable about hiring a very strong executive team with that bit of padding there for us. But we've still been self-funding with the cash in the bank. We'll be paying that small debt round back likely before Christmas, just to get it off our balance sheet. The thing that I'm realizing about funding, and I'm finally wrapping my head around it again, being a Midwest, Ohio bootstrap startup guy, is the value of it. And the value of it for me is not necessarily the cash. I can get the cash eventually, and I can keep self-investing and reinvesting and growing slowly. But the value of it, of course, is speed. And I'm realizing that this market, texting, conversational texting, chatbots, whatever, is very, very, very hot right now. And I think the SMS portion of it specifically is going to explode in 2019 and 2020. So I'm realizing that we may not be able to attack the whole market the way I would like to with our resources that are available to us now. And we're scaling quickly. I mean, we went from 15 people to 30 people in the last 6-7 months. And I think we'll probably be at 45 before the end of the year. But, again, like we talked about marketing, right? Like I need a full marketing team. We need to get into all these different enterprises. We need a full sales team. Otherwise we're selling into these large corporations with, one or two people, and that takes a long time to scale. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that we are entertaining investor talks now, specifically with strategics. These are companies that already have the portfolio that would benefit Drips, right? So these are, companies that are maybe in call analytics, lead gen, agency world. So these are companies that already have the portfolio that Drips could sell into. So if they, do a strategic investment into us, that means that we could potentially sell through their existing MSAs and cut the onboarding and sales cycle way, way, way down. So that is something that, we're looking at and I've become interested in. It turns my stomach to think about taking somebody else's money just because it's against my nature. But for the right reasons, with the right partner at the right time, it's definitely going to be something we'll be looking for in Q1 of next year so that we can make sure to stay ahead of this market as it expands.
So AC, now it's time for the 5 most important questions you're going to be asked today. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Miami LeBron or LA LeBron?
Well, I'll just say LA LeBron. And again, I'm hedging all this with I do not watch sports, so I only know a little bit about LeBron because he has a house near mine in Ohio. But I think his departure this time was more well received. I don't know, it's because it's already happened once, but there weren't nearly as many jerseys burning in the streets of Akron or Ohio this time around. My partner and our original client, Tom, who I mentioned earlier, he also has a house in LA as well as Akron. So I get out to LA often, and we have season tickets to the Lakers. So we get to take our clients to Lakers games here and there. So that'll be fun. I'm glad he's there instead of Miami because I don't get to Miami nearly as often.
PlayStation or Xbox?
I was always an Xbox guy. And I couldn't tell you why. It was probably Halo, right? Halo was not a PlayStation game. Yeah, so I was a Halo junkie back in the day and just stuck with the Xbox ever since.
Cucumber-infused water or just plain water?
Ooh, I like LaCroix, so that's not...
I was just going to see if your millennial was showing.
Yeah, it was cucumber water if I had to pick between the two, but LaCroix is man, that's like my fuel. I don't know if you saw my one LinkedIn post about my diet, but it generally and mostly consists of a couple of coffees in the morning and then LaCroix until about 4 p.m.
Breakfast of champions. Yeah. Cleveland Browns or Cleveland Indians?
I'll have to say the Browns just because
you work there.
I like the underdogs. I like the underdogs, the Indians I hear are doing well. But the Browns, I feel like, are kind of America's underdogs. So I think one day they'll get it together.
And the most important question you're going to be asked, biscuits or cornbread?
Ooh. If it's just the biscuits and or the cornbread, I would say cornbread, but I do like biscuits and gravy.
Thank you.
But I grew up in North Carolina, so I'm cornbread all the way.
Well, AC, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Where can people find out more about you, Drips, the company, follow your advice and thoughts?
Yeah, drips.com is always going to be the best place, drips.com. We're going to be putting up a blog there very soon. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Aaron Christopher Evans. I'm very active there, as you know. But yeah, otherwise, contact us through Drips. Love to chat. Love to hear more from everybody.
Thank you, AC, for speaking with us on A Shark's Perspective.
All right. Thank you for your time.
So there was my conversation with AC Evans, the CEO and founder of Drips.com and a subject matter expert in lead generation and marketing automation. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, short message services, SMS for short, has been around for some time with text messaging, but a lot of companies are weary of it because of how some of the bad actors were penalized for basically living up to being bad actors and spamming people with unwanted messages. However, it's a very powerful channel and there are ways to use it appropriately with opt-in data. If you can do it correctly, then it does give companies the opportunity to really show that they can respect how customers want to be communicated with on their own terms. If you think customer first, then it can be an amazingly powerful tool for a marketer, and the people that are using conversational texting correctly are seeing amazing results. Second, I love some of AC's comments in particular around work-life balance. He refers to it as counterbalance, and counterbalance is the everyday adjustments that you make. Always work on trying to find that balance. It's a simple but very important lesson. Third, an important lesson for all marketers to hear, especially the entrepreneurs, is to consider perception and what people think or know about your brand. It's all about perception. Even if you're the biggest, the inventor, the originator in the space, you've got to get out there and let the world know about you and your brand. If not, then there are plenty of imitators out there who are happy to fill that void for you. So if you have a great product or service, then market it. Got a question? Please feel free to find me on LinkedIn or send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this show regarding another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. It's been my pleasure, and here's an important SMS reminder in 160 characters or less. Don't text and drive. But if you are driving and listening to a good podcast, then join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.